All right, let's dive in. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the hidden infrastructure of the whole AI revolution. While giants like NVIDIA are building the powerful engines, there's this other company, Credo Technology, that's quietly designing the superhighways for all that data to travel on.
So, we hear it all the time, right? The AI race is all about who can build the most powerful chip. But what if I told you the biggest bottleneck isn't the processor? What if the real thing holding AI back is something else entirely?
And that leads us right into our first section. See, deep inside the world's most advanced data centers, there's this massive hidden traffic jam that's building up, and it's threatening to slow the whole AI party down.
So here's the deal. It's not just about raw computing speed anymore. As these AI models get bigger and faster, the data centers that run them are hitting some serious walls. We're talking signal degradation, insane power consumption, all the heat that generates, and just the raw cost of moving every single bit of data. This isn't like old school computing. AI demands constant, ridiculously fast communication between thousands of chips all at once, creating this unbelievable data traffic jam.
Let's talk about signal degradation for a second. Okay, think of it like this. You're trying to shout to your friend across a huge, noisy room. The farther away they are, the more your voice gets garbled, right? It's the same thing with data. At the mind-boggling speeds these data centers are running at, and we're talking 400 gigabits per second on the way to 800 and even higher, that perfect digital signal starts to get corrupted. That causes errors, it causes slowdowns, and you just can't get around it. It's a fundamental law of physics. And this slide really lays out the pickle they're in. On one hand, you've got your traditional copper wires. They're simple, they're cheap, but they just can't keep up with the speeds needed inside these massive AI clusters. On the other hand, you have all optical fiber, which is blazing fast, but it can be super expensive, complex to work with, and a real power hog. So you see, this creates this critical middle ground problem, and, well, a huge opportunity for whoever can solve it.
And this is exactly where Credo Technology comes into the picture. They have brilliantly positioned themselves as the master architect of this middle ground, designing the perfect solutions for this very specific and very valuable problem.
Credo's mission is pretty easy to say, but trust me, it's incredibly hard to actually do. You can think of them as the high-tech plumbers of the AI world. Seriously. While everyone else is obsessed with building bigger, faster engines, the GPUs, Credo is laser-focused on designing the smart, efficient, high-speed plumbing that connects everything together. So how do they actually pull this off? Let's follow the journey of one single bit of data. First up, right on the chip itself, Credo licenses out its CRDO technology. Now, that's a mouthful, I know. It stands for serializer/deserializer, and it acts like a tiny on-ramp, getting data on and off the silicon at lightning speed. Then, as that signal zips across a server's circuit board, their retimers kick in. These act like little booster stations, cleaning up and regenerating the signal to keep it strong. And finally, for connecting whole server racks together, we get to their flagship product, active electrical cables, or AECs. These are basically super-powered copper cables with Credo's own chips embedded right inside them, which makes them way smarter, way faster, and able to stretch much further than normal copper. Okay, this technology is obviously very impressive, but who is actually buying it? The answer is the biggest players in the entire game. We're talking about the hyperscalers, the giant cloud providers who are literally building the foundation of our AI future. And here's why those hyperscalers are choosing Credo. I mean, think about it. When you're building a data center the size of a small city, every single penny and every single watt of power matters. Credo solutions let them build out their AI clusters faster, they bring down the cost of every connection, and they use a lot less power. And maybe most important of all, their tech is proven to work reliably at an absolutely staggering scale.
And this is a crucial point. Once a hyperscaler designs its data center architecture around Credo's products, it becomes incredibly difficult and really expensive to switch to something else. It's not like just swapping out a cable. No way. It's baked into the DNA of the entire system. This creates a really powerful competitive advantage, what investors love to call a switching cost moat.
So, as you can probably imagine, being the plumber of choice for the great AI gold rush has led to some absolutely incredible growth. But with that kind of growth come incredibly high stakes.
And when I say growth, I mean it has been nothing short of explosive. We are seeing massive year-over-year revenue jumps, and it's almost all being driven by this AI infrastructure build-out. This isn't your normal, everyday demand for hardware. This is a tidal wave. But, and this is a big but, this slide here reveals the other side of that coin.
A huge, huge majority of that amazing revenue comes from a very, very small number of top customers. Now, while that's a great sign of how strong their relationships are, it is also a major risk. If just one of those giants decides to pause their spending or change their designs, the impact on Credo would be enormous. And that customer concentration issue is just one of several big hurdles. Credo also has to worry about the risk of a sudden pause in AI spending, the constant threat of some new technology coming along and making their stuff obsolete, a super high stock valuation that basically demands perfection, and of course, all the usual supply chain and geopolitical risks that every chip company is dealing with right now. Now, there is one long-term threat on the horizon worth talking about. It's called co-packaged optics, or CPO. The idea behind this future tech is to basically put the optical connections directly onto the computer chips themselves. If it works and becomes mainstream, it could really disrupt Credo's business by reducing the need for products like their AECs. For now, it's still way too complex and expensive, but it's definitely a storm cloud Credo is watching very, very closely. So this all leaves us with a few very different potential futures for the company. In the bull case, the dream scenario, Credo expands its product lines and becomes the undisputed dominant platform for all AI connectivity. In the base case, growth slows down a bit, but they remain a really solid, profitable company. And then there's the bear case, where new competition and technologies like CPO start to chip away at their advantages, and the stock ends up underperforming. All right, let's bring it all together and land the plane here. What is the big picture takeaway? What does this all mean for Credo and the future of AI? At the end of the day, Credo's future success really boils down to three things. One, they absolutely must keep those critical hyperscaler relationships strong. Two, they have to keep adapting to new, faster-than-light technology standards. And three, with their stock valued so highly, they have to execute flawlessly. There is very little room for error. And that brings us to what I think is the single best way to summarize this entire story. A stake in Credo isn't really a bet on a specific AI model or some killer app. It is, and I quote, a levered bet on the plumbing of AI. It's a bet that as AI gets bigger and faster and way more complex, the pipes connecting everything together will just become more and more valuable. So the real question for the future is this: will Credo continue to be the master plumber, or will someone else come along and design a better system?